We'll find the derivative of the inverse sine of x using implicit differentiation. The first step will be picking a variable. I will use theta, because we use theta to represent angles usually, to equal the inverse sine of x. Now, I don't know how to take the derivative of the inverse sine of x, but I do know how to take the derivative of the sine of x. So perhaps I will take the sine on both sides here. So that tells us that sine of theta is equal to x, because the sine of the sine inverse of x is just x. Those are the inverse functions by definition. And now we have a function that we know how to differentiate, so I will take d dx on both sides. Take d dx here, and I'll take d dx here. On the left side, well, the derivative of sine of some function is cosine of the same function, but we can't forget about the chain rule, so we have to multiply by the derivative of the inside function. So taking d dx of theta, that means we have to multiply this by d theta dx, which is what we're looking for. And the derivative of x with respect to x is just 1. So this is equal to 1. So now I need to isolate the d theta dx. So I'll divide both sides by cosine of theta to do that. So we'll find out that d theta dx equals 1 over cosine theta, also known as secant theta. And we found our derivative for sine of theta, we found our derivative for inverse sine of x. But we're not done, because we have this theta right here. We can't have any theta in our final answer. So we define theta to be the inverse sine of x. In other words, we know that sine theta equals x. So what I'm going to do now is draw a right triangle to help us figure out secant. So here's a right angle, and I'll put angle theta to be right here. So we know sine of theta is x, or x over 1. And in the right triangle, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. And we need to find out this leg right here. So we can use the Pythagorean theorem to do that. If you use the Pythagorean theorem to do that, you'll find out that it is the square root of 1 minus x squared. And we're interested in secant of theta. So here's our angle theta. Secant in the right triangle is hypotenuse 1 over adjacent, square root of 1 minus x squared. And this is our derivative for the inverse sine of x.